Speak bold, ain't tripping on the haters. It could take freedom from a cold dead hands. We're locked and loaded for the last dance. 'Cause we're the new American gangsters, ready to die for this man.
Hello, everyone.
Hola.
Welcome to our podcast. I'm Shelby Bush.
Brian Blum. How y'all doing? How you doing, Shelby?
I'm doing great.
What have you been up to?
Well, lately looking at all the hacks that keep occurring all across our federal government. How about
Right.
you?
Right. Yeah, it's amazing. How we have become so dependent on this stuff. What are you going to do when it all dies? What are you going to do when the system goes down? Right? Did you see, God, I can't remember if it's the Department of Commerce is now taking steps to secure our grid from Chinese-made smart appliances, right? Imagine that. I mean, a government doesn't like what you're doing, so it shuts off your fucking microwave.
Well, think about that, right?
You can't cook your burritos.
Well, it's worse than that. It's like the sci-fi movies where you hear voices coming out of your toaster.
Right.
It's like you worry about the NSA spying on your smartphones and your computers. Imagine China is listening to your private conversations over your toaster oven.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
It's like all those jokes you see, these what are they called? Memes I see on social media that talk about, my wife asked me a question and I responded with a joke and, she laughed and Siri laughed and Alexa laughed and my refrigerator laughed. And everybody just had a great big old laugh. It's like, the invasion of privacy, folks, is just absolutely incredible, right? I was talking to my son about welding, and here, I'll say it into my phone now, and I'll see if I get welding ads before the end of the show, and welding, I need a welder, and Facebook just floods you with welding ads.
Right. And you're not in the app and you're not making a post about it. You're literally talking in the real world with your device near you.
Right.
And it starts marketing to you. I've seen this myself. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. But anyway, I'm just drinking my Fuchsia Organic Immunity Ginger Orange Booster. Not bad. Pretty good stuff.
And they are not giving us money. They are not sponsors.
They are not a sponsor. We do not get paid by anybody. I just wanted to tell people these are actually pretty good. And you can get them, I guess, at Costco. And again, Costco is not a sponsor. We're not getting paid by Costco.
You know who else we're not getting paid for?
What?
By Runbeck. Runbeck doesn't sponsor us either.
I know, but we talk a lot about Runbeck.
I don't understand why Runbeck doesn't send us a stipend check as many times as we bring them up in the show, right?
And what's funny is that with so many questions about Runbeck, their portfolio of election-related operations gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Right?
Well, they're trying to create, I believe, like a monopoly on election services. They're trying to take over every orb of elections.
Right.
So they're kind of that one-stop shop to run elections. And
and they do it all. Yeah.
They do.
How many ballots you need?
And they're doing more now, right, Brian? They're doing more. So
That's crazy stuff.
For those of you that don't know about a system called text to cure. So curing of your ballot is when you mail in a ballot and your signature does not match and it fails twice. So then the county reaches out to you to say, hey, Brian, did you mail in a ballot? And we have one here and your signature doesn't match. Did you mail one in, right? So they started a new program a while back called Text to Cure.
Oh, yeah.
So they'll send you a text and they'll say, we received your ballot. Your signature doesn't match. To cure your ballot and make sure your vote counts, upload your driver's license, upload your identification, right? Theoretically, it sounds pretty good, right? Yeah. So we've been using that for a while in Maricopa County. Other states have been using a version of it, including one of your favorite people, Jenna Ellis in Colorado.
Yeah.
Jenna Ellis uses Text to Cure.
Well, Jenna Ellis, we can always hope that she gets a good cellmate. So that's my prayer for Jenna Ellis, is that she gets a good cellmate. Maybe somebody like God, who's the woman they went and released the grand jury testimony from. They might even know each other.
Oh, you're talking about Giselle Maxwell.
Yeah.
Wow, that would be interesting. Jenna Ellis and Giselle, they could become good friends in person. Who would be the dominant, do you think?
Yeah, I'm not going to go down that road. I'll leave that to someone else. Yeah.
Well,
Text to Cure.
Text to Cure. It's interesting, right? And it seems fairly innocuous, but right now Runbeck controls about 90% of our elections in Maricopa County. Would you say?
Yeah, I might even say more than that. I mean, you could add it all up. They supply the printers for election day, right?
Right.
They provide all the techie support for election day, right? Obviously, in 2022, I'm not sure who they provided, but they obviously were exceptionally ineffective at curing what the problem was. Probably because the problem was some type of virus or bug that was inserted into either the voter registration database or the printers.
Right.
And so nothing was ever investigated with that, by the way.
No, not at all.
Maybe Runbeck knows.
Well, but Runbeck doesn't just administer elections in Maricopa County. I checked their website today just for context. And according to their website, they are administering elections in over 100 counties across the United States.
Right.
And they are doing almost every single election, possibly every single election where Dominion is present, right?
Correct.
Because they are an official certified vendor for Dominion.
Right. They want to be ES&S too, don't they?
Right. And Dominion is in almost every major county and every major swing state, right?
Right.
So Runbeck has now bought the Text to Cure system, and it was previously owned by Global Mobile. Steve, can you put up element 1? So Global Mobile originated in 2014, and they got really big on the election scene in about 2016. And they talked about a new way to give quick and easy way for citizens to get up-to-date voting information. So when they first started out, they worked with the counties to text voters about where they could find their polling site or how they could check their voter registration. But the original plan behind Global Mobile was to move us into the new market of text voting.
Right. Vote by phone.
Right.
Vote by cell phone.
And, usually when they do this, wouldn't you say, Brian, they kind of soft launch something to get you desensitized to the idea,
100%. It's just like the mRNA vaccines, right? That the pharmaceutical companies knew that the mRNA vaccines could not pass the strict safety testing protocol. And so they used COVID and the emergency use authorization to get America used to mRNA vaccines. And, now you have the government coming out saying, yeah, we're not going to fund this because they are way too dangerous. And so the pharmaceutical companies used an emergency to try to slip through this new technology that was untested and is obviously, when you look at the results of the COVID vaccines, very dangerous experiment to perform on the world's population. So,
but by about halfway through the COVID pandemic, most people were completely comfortable with that vaccine.
100%. 100%. But that's why they did it, right?
Right.
You tout it. You say, "Oh, look at how many lives we've saved." They didn't save anything near that many lives, right? The truth is coming out now. But the goal was to get people to feel comfortable with that new technology, enough people to keep it in the marketplace.
Right. And even when new and relevant information comes out saying, no, this is dangerous,
right,
people are already programmed to believe it's safe. And it's harder to kind of break through.
What the hell are you talking about? I love my Pinto.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And that's my reference to Pintos, right? When they're rear-ended, they explode.
Right.
But I love my Pinto. I had a Pinto as a kid, and it was a great car. Yeah.
People get used to it. They get comfortable, and then the safety warnings aren't quite as profound. So Global Mobile created Text to Vote, and they piloted it a little bit in Colorado. They actually did a poll of the entire assembly of Colorado, so their House of Representatives, right? And they said, would you rather vote by mail or would you rather vote by text? 92% of Colorado's legislative assembly said, oh, we'd like to vote by text.
Right.
And they actually ran some kind of pilot studies. So Runbeck has now purchased Global Mobile and the Text Secure system.
Right.
Which means that instead of being in just a few isolated counties, it's now going to be an offered service in all 100 counties across the U.S. that Runbeck provides services for.
Right.
Steve, can you put up number 3? We're going to skip number 2. So this is an article that was issued about Runbeck acquiring Global Mobile. And it talks about how the company has been innovating mobile communication since 2014, and that Runbeck Election Services now provides the Text Secure system, allowing voters to verify their ballot signatures for vote by mail. So,
you know what's funny? Runbeck should be a government entity. Runbeck should be owned by the people.
But then we'd be able to see their records, Brian.
Oh, that's true. We'd have a better idea of what they're up to. That's not necessarily true. I mean, the way the Public Records Act in Arizona has been dying on the vine, unless you're Jen Fifield, right?
Right.
Jen Fifield can go and ask for everybody's text messages, and voila, boom.
Within 24 hours.
Right.
They've complied.
Right. And then organizations like We the People, of course, we got to file lawsuits, and they drag it out as long as possible. And so, but Runbeck needs to be part of the Maricopa County Elections Department. And then Maricopa County Elections Department, Maricopa County needs to be subdivided into at least 3 or 4 different counties.
Yeah.
So...
that's an interesting thought. And to be honest, I haven't really put a lot of thought into that because I always worry about expansive government. And so when we divide, then we're going to have multiple boards of supervisors. We're going to have multiple bureaucrats.
But you will only have one board of supervisors over the county in which you live.
Yeah, that is true.
Right?
That is true.
And
So if Maricopa County splits into multiple counties, but what they're talking about is making it like multiple districts. So doing that would be a little difficult, I think, to maintain some kind of oversight for the public.
You mean more members of the boards of supervisors?
Yeah, so essentially right now there's 5 districts. Right. So every district would have its own board.
More gerrymandering.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think it would be rough.
More finger pointing. Right. You got 5 members of the Board of Supervisors right now. 4 of them are Republican, 1 of them's a Democrat, right?
Yes.
Ostensibly, right? I just say that by how they self-identify. They all point the finger at somebody else, don't they? And so now if we add 3 more districts, supervisory districts, there's just 3 more people to blame everybody else for all of the county's problem.
Right. And that would be the concern. Right. What would that look like
Yeah.
Now, if we were to make Maricopa multiple
Mhm.
counties, that would
Right.
be different.
It would be, because then you would have different independent boards of supervisors.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a different body of people to hold them accountable,
Right.
right? So it wouldn't be as
Right.
impactful. Steve, put up number 4 for me, please. So when I started looking in, after I found out Runbeck
Mhm.
acquired Global Mobile,
Uh-huh.
we started looking into what does Global Mobile do. So one of the first things that came out,
Oh.
yeah, look at that.
Changing the way America votes. Right. And see, this is exactly one of the big reasons they did what they did with coronavirus, right? I mean, coronavirus wasn't that bad if you were elderly or you had premorbidities, right?
Hmm.
Then you were at greater risk, just like you are with the flu, um, for COVID. But for children, for young people, for healthy adults, that COVID typically um, wasn't a problem, wasn't any worse than the flu. But they used COVID, and this was part of their plan, was to get us on all of these new election systems where the people no longer participate in the running of their elections, right? We turn it all over to these corporate entities. We vote by phone. God forbid you stand with somebody in line and vote, right? They might have a pimple or
Right.
something that they
Something contagious.
right, or even something contagious. Pimples aren't contagious. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd
Not
like
that I'm
to.
aware of.
I'd like to get your guys' attention to the second line right after the title.
Yeah. In April 2020, when their convention was canceled due to coronavirus, the Republican Party of
Republican
Colorado
Party.
Hmm.
became the first to implement text to vote. See, and you guys are doing yeoman's work out here, because you guys have been pushing get-togethers of individuals to come together and count votes, and been doing that in the party apparatus now for how many years?
Since 2022.
Since 2022,
Yeah.
right?
So, I mean, what is that? 3
Yeah,
years, going
right.
on 4 years.
Right. And so you see, I see all of these people associated with bar associations and stuff talking about how, oh, we got to foster education to get people all jazzed up and excited about their Republican form of government and voting. But how the hell do you jazz people up when it's just no different than any other app they're on? They just go, oh, I like Miley Cyrus better than this other actress or artist,
Right.
right?
It's no different than taking a survey.
It's cheap.
Right.
It completely cheapens our electoral process, and it makes it nothing more than what's that woman who ran for president in 2024?
Oh, Kamala?
Kamala Harris.
Yep. Kamala.
Yeah,
Kamala.
Kamala. She tried that whole social media campaign, but
Hmm.
that's exactly what text to vote is.
Right.
That our political campaigns will be social media campaigns. They'll be on Instagram. They'll be on what's a Snapchat, which won't let us air this show, right? Steve?
Well, that's
Snapchat.
TikTok.
TikTok.
Right.
Uh,
TikTok.
Yeah,
Hey,
TikTok
TikTok, get
keeps
your shit together,
removing your
man.
permission.
Nothing wrong with the show. But that's all it'll become. Our and then who's really governing America when we have these social media stars, out there giving their platitudes and whatever.
Right. I mean, it's an interesting concept,
Yeah.
right? It's like somebody sends you a link, you
Mhm.
upload your driver's license, and then you vote for
Mhm.
your favorite candidate. It totally cheapens the
Yeah.
process. But in addition to that, how do you audit that, Brian?
I mean, you can't.
Right.
And not to mention the fact that if you've got an electronic driver's license, how many people have access to all of your information and
Right.
data? right? I mean, Adrian Fontes tried that cheap ass fake hack where candidate photos got changed, right? Right in the middle of a budget fight with the legislature. I need more money.
This happened because you didn't give me money, but they gave
Right.
him plenty of money,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
They gave him everything he asked for,
Yeah.
is my understanding. But
Yeah.
so put a 5, Steve.
Before we do,
Yeah.
I just want to bring it attention. I was reading this, right? You guys
Yeah.
are talking. I was reading.
Yeah, we don't read. We
It
just
shows
talk
that
shit.
92% of people chose smartphone voting, the text to vote platform. They're just
92% of Republicans in Colorado.
Hold on. So just a second. I want to know who ran this poll, how many people were involved in the poll, because here's the thing that I want to tell you is that, Shelby, I think you remember, it was, I think, a couple years ago that, and I won't use any names, maybe we shouldn't, but there was a poll at an LD meeting, maybe it was a county meeting years ago.
I'll totally talk
Hold on,
about that.
where they specifically said that election integrity was not in the top concerns of the voters polled. But yet, when we dug a little deeper, we found out that wasn't even one of the questions or options in the polling.
Right. So it was,
they skewed it.
it was February of 2021. And I remember they said that, and that was the question I asked of the pollster. And he was a man from the RNC who was talking about what was important to voters. And he said, and as you can see here, these are the top 5 issues that concern Americans. And notice what's missing: election integrity.
Right.
So I raised my hand and I said, was election integrity an option on the poll? Well, no. Right?
Yeah. But if you put that back up, Steve,
Yeah.
and so it does say that they were given 2 options, and one was a vote by mail option or a smartphone voting option. And so I guess, I mean, we could figure out how many members are there in the Colorado Assembly.
Well, the way I see it, Brian, Republicans have been taught that vote by mail is a source of corruption, right? You can't trust it. So then if they're only given the 2 options of
Right.
vote by mail
Right.
and vote by secure smartphone texting,
Right.
then they're probably going to opt for the one that sounds like it's
More
not
secure.
used in historical election corruption in this country.
No, understood.
Right?
And
So if there was 3 choices, go to your local school or church or firehouse or whatever's
Right.
close to your house to vote in person on election day.
Would the poll turn out
Maybe
different?
that would have showed up somewhere
No, I
in this
agree.
poll.
I agree. Have your stupid convention, Republicans who in Colorado. I don't think there's really very much of anything really. My mom and her husband, otherwise, that are Republicans in Colorado. I think Colorado has just been completely decimated by the left. There really are no what I would call conservatives left in Colorado, except for my mom and her husband. Of course, I don't know a whole lot of people there anymore, because I think all the people that could afford it and were smart moved out when it got taken over. But what did you guys do during COVID?
For the Republican Party?
Did you clamor down? Did you hide? Did
So,
you go into a bunker?
well, that's interesting.
They tried to.
They tried to. They actually tried to do text to vote
Did
in
they?
Maricopa County. And to his credit, the chairman, I don't remember the district at the time because it was prior to redistricting, but there was a chairman, Timothy Schwartz, and I'll give him a shout out. He stood up and said, we're Republicans. We should gather in person. Like, why
Right.
are we going to do a Zoom meeting and vote by text?
Right.
And I seconded his motion, and we actually formed a committee.
Yeah.
And we ended up having an in-person convention, but it was really contentious. The head of the convention at the time resigned
Right.
because he was unhappy. And we had somebody step up and say, well, we can't defy the orders of Doug Ducey. He's our Republican governor, and he's telling us to stay at home. Yeah, exactly. So it was contentious, but ultimately the conservative Republicans prevailed and fought back, and we had our convention in person.
Right. Well,
So that was good. Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah, that's heartwarming. Not Colorado. Colorado, if there's any Republicans left up there, wake the fuck up, you know.
Well,
Uh,
so you had mentioned Adrian Fontes, right? Steve, go to number 6. So Text Secure. We've been using it in Maricopa County. It's an option.
Not
right?
anymore, is it?
Well, Adrian Fontes just issued his new draft EPM.
Mm-hmm.
You've been looking at that, haven't you, Brian? You've been reviewing
Just
that?
a little bit.
Well, I know we're going to spend more time scouring through it, and maybe next week
Yeah.
we will do kind of a full assessment of the EPM for you guys. But this is quite interesting. So Runbeck acquires Text to Vote. So now it's more readily accessible and available. And if you look at the EPM, all of a sudden, Adrian Fontes is stating in there that the recorder or other officer in charge of elections shall make every reasonable effort to use a text platform that enables voters to verify their signature, to notify voters of inconsistent signatures, and instructions on how to correct and confirm the signature, allowing them to cure the signature via text.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the reason that the Secretary of State would require text curing, Brian?
Well, this is part of the process of getting people used to, this type of process and procedure.
Steve, can you put that back up? There's one more thing I want to point out.
Get used to uploading a photo of your driver's license and sending it to a non-governmental organization or a private corporation.
Right.
Get used to doing that. Oh, don't worry. It's safe and secure.
Well, and you know what it reminds me of? Do you remember the Staples commercials with the big red button?
Mm-hmm.
That was easy. And they pushed the big red button. Yeah, kind of like your Chris Mays button.
Chris Mays button.
It's to desensitize and program people, right? So look at the next sentence. This is what I want to show you. It says, if voters are notified via a text system, the county is not required to notify them in any additional communications.
Right.
So they don't have to send them a letter like is currently required. They don't have to make attempts to call them. How many elderly people do you know of have old school phones, don't read their text messages, or know how to use a link?
Right.
So how many people do you think could potentially be disenfranchised from this process?
Probably quite a few, right? But again, I don't think they care.
No.
The goal, their goal is to get all of these young people that are addicted to their cell phone, right? To buy into voting on the text. That's what the goal is, right?
Well, and they know, I think they know, that inherently conservatives are less likely to trust something like that as well. Right? If I got a text message saying upload your driver's license as a conservative, I'm going to be like, no way. And if I don't understand the voting process and I don't know what's going on, I'm going to lose my vote.
Right.
So how much more work is that going to be educating voters on what they need to do and pushing them in a direction that's honestly not good for them?
Well, you know what I don't like? The 2 strikes on the signature verification, right? Because if it doesn't pass the first person, it gets pushed to another person, right? And we've had, Chris has been on the show and we've talked about the ramifications of that, right? If 50% of your signature verifiers are ringers, those people who just hit enter, 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 and the other 50% actually do their job and they're rejecting signatures, there's a really good chance that they're going to go to the ringers after that and they're just going to hit enter, 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 enter.
Yeah. And, in Maricopa County, at least, I'm really hoping that Justin Heap is I've heard that he's making efforts to make some reformatory changes
Right.
to better comply with the Arizona statute
Right.
in regards to signature verification. But the unfortunate thing is right now, as law sits,
Right.
there is no bipartisan panel required for signature verification either.
And apparently the voters of Maricopa County have no right to know who's actually verifying signatures,
Right.
which is, like we've been saying. I mean, we've said on the show before that in the 2024 election, they could have just hired Kamala Harris campaign staff to verify signatures.
Well, and we know for a fact that they were verifying signatures from home.
Right.
Which means this quote unquote sensitive data that they're so afraid to disclose to the public is being sent through. Well, I don't know, Brian. They say it's really secure, a secure VPN.
Secure VPN.
Yeah. So maybe it's safe and secure.
Maybe. Right.
Speaking of safe and secure,
Yeah.
got any new news on CIS and CISA?
CIS? Well, I
with
tell you what,
CISA.
did we upload the footnote from the EPM regarding this?
No, we did
we didn't.
not.
But
But you can certainly talk about it.
Adrian Fontes specifically refers to CIS in the EPM, and directs county recorders to CIS for their network security and stuff. And so,
Is that a mandate, Brian, or a suggestion in the EPM? Do you know?
Well, he doesn't give any other options that I could see. And so, we can talk about that more next week. But the problem, and sort of, I guess, so that the people watching understand, the reason we decided to start with this text to cure is because then we're going to go talk about a whole bunch of other really shitty stuff that should make it clear to you that any type of electronic voting system is subject to hacking or subject to being attacked in one way or another.
Would that include texting to vote?
Oh yeah, no doubt. But not only that, you have you have all of these people that millions of computers. Once you do that, you start talking about all these computers in our systems, and then you have added on to that all of these, little personal computers that we have, added to that system, right?
Right.
And so, the hackability of elections becomes really, really profound. Yes, Steve.
I'm just curious about the security of doing a text to vote verification, or even just signature verification, because millions of people on a daily basis are getting text messages where they're asking for information, pretending to be an official of the government in one way or another, the IRS, UPS, and they just want you to send them information to confirm. And
Your bank.
Older people really fall for these things, and they get taken for a ride.
Right. And if you have a government agency saying this is normal, it's normal to respond to a link and upload your social security and your driver's license.
So now we start getting this text to cure.
Yeah.
Now people could start spoofing that during election times and be like, hey, we're trying to validate your ballot.
Right.
Please give me your social security number so that we can verify we're talking to the right voter.
Right.
And it's really Sam in Pakistan who's taking your ID, right?
that or it's the guy in Uganda who keeps emailing me, telling me, I've got $50 million waiting for me in a bank account. I just need to provide him my, personal information.
Right.
I just feel like this is going to open the door to so many more scams.
Yeah. Well, and
that people aren't going to be able to tell that it's a scam.
Yeah, it does, and it will. And people will get scammed. And Adrian Fontes will come out and say, "Oh, the legislature didn't give me enough money. If I had enough money, we could have stopped it." Or people like Brian DeValance, right? Now, we talked about Brian DeValance a little bit last week. I think I harangued on him for a little bit, but we're going to talk about him a little bit more as we move through this sort of curriculum, if you will.
Well, we've been talking about Comey, Brennan, Clapper, Suzanne Spalding, and hopefully, I'd like to think that maybe we played a little role in getting them on the radar of the Department of Justice. So we need to get Brian DeValance on their radar, right? We need to expose who this man is.
Right. Brian DeValance, is actually, for a mid-level player, a fairly powerful person. He's got very deep ties to the Arizona judiciary. He's got deep ties, I believe, to the State Bar of Arizona.
Right.
I used to be a member of the State Bar of Arizona. I'm not sure if he's still licensed here or not.
But he is a local boy, went to college at ASU, right?
Yeah, worked for a Arizona Supreme Court Chief Justice. I believe he worked for a governor a long time ago in the state of Arizona as well.
It's interesting.
He worked for Barack Obama, the Department of Homeland Security. Now, what's really interesting is that you can look into this guy and you can't find what his undergraduate degree is in, right? And so,
sorry to interrupt, but I remember it was Janet Napolitano.
Well, he worked for a different governor.
He worked for Napolitano, though, as well.
Yeah, he worked for a different governor as well.
Okay.
And then Janet Napolitano, he worked for her while she was the Department of Homeland Security Secretary.
Right.
So he was in DHS. He played this role. But he's ever since 2020, it's almost like he works for the Center for Internet Security, which the Center for Internet Security, mind you, runs the multi-state election information sharing systems, right? They were completely defunded by the Trump administration. Thank God.
Yes.
Thank
Good work,
you,
Trump administration.
Everybody in the Trump administration, you got to get the hell rid of the Center or the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency. It was born in evil. You cannot take an organization born out of evil and make it good. It is demonic, and
you just got to eliminate it.
You got to eliminate.
There's no other option.
You just need to get rid of it, right? And so, the National Security Agency, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, worked with its non-governmental organization counterpart, Center for Internet Security. And it had the Center for Internet Security do these things that it itself could not do.
Right, like censor speech.
Censorship, right?
Right.
And so let's look at number 7. No, go to 8 first. Go to 8 first.
8. Let's do 8.
And so this is Dave Byers. He's the head administrator of the Arizona Judicial Branch of Government. And he's having these communications with Brian DeValance. And so where's Brian DeValance's email up there? Do you see it? I can't see it. I'm having a hard time reading here. Yeah, I think go to the next page.
No, it's right there. It's Brian.DeValance at cissecurity.org. CISCCURITY.
And so he's basically, subject. Following up from Center for Internet Security, RICOSA, and SC. Whatever the hell that is. They use all these big acronyms, right? But, they're talking about this MSISAC, and that's part of a lot of what's been defunded by the Trump administration. But they're talking about election security. They're seeing if they can have the State Bar of Arizona as a member of whatever
Their
monstrosity they're
joint
talking
committee on
about.
elections. They're
Right.
wanting to bring the judiciary into this joint technical committee.
Yeah, yeah, and so he's working on behalf of the National Security Agency as a civilian private contractor, working to influence our judicial branch of government, which is exactly what Susan Spalding set up CISA to do. That was her primary mission as a member of the ABA, as the undersecretary for the National Security Agency when they created CISA, when she created CISA, and then when she left and went to this private organization to start, spooling this big yarn about Russia disinformation, right? Just like it was funny. 2024 elections, right? You have Adrian Fontes out there. The Russians have made bomb threats at 4 Navajo Nation voting centers, right? The fuck, it's the damn Russians,
Right.
right? Just everybody, all these Democrats just knee jerk. I want the damn Russians. We got to keep fighting the Russians.
And
Keep the
I'm
Cold
just
War alive.
curious why the Russians would put the threats out at the Navajo Nation vote centers when like 95% of them vote by mail. I mean, that wouldn't be the biggest impact the Russians could have in our election by
I know,
far.
right?
I'm like,
yeah, because the votes are typically sent to they have their tribal houses, right?
right, they're chapter houses.
Their chapter houses. And so their ballots are typically mailed there because the Navajo Nation is very rural.
Yes.
And so most of these individuals then come into their chapter house. They vote their ballots or however else that process works. I don't know, and I don't want to speculate. But, then their ballots get mailed back typically. And so, there's not a lot of actual on-site voting. A lot of it happens through chapter house, especially for the very rural portions of the voting community. And so these folks are, but I wanted to bring this up just to show.
Well, hold on, Brian. Before you move on from that,
Mhm.
I had this thought.
Yeah.
So he said the Russians were trying to make bomb threats on the Navajo Nation, right?
Uh-huh.
Does Adrian Fontes know that 64% of the Navajo Nation voted for Trump? And if Putin supports Trump, why would he want to obstruct their voting?
I we just got to keep this Cold War going, right? Because it makes Nancy Pelosi and her husband a shit ton of money.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
And so, because they know what stocks to bet on. Bet on war stocks. Bet on war stocks. And there's my doggo right there, just saying hi. But anyway, okay, go to number 7 now. Just remember this email address though, right? Because we've talked about this on the show before.
Brian.davalance at sissecurity.org.
Right.
Nope.
Nope.
Now you're going to put up number 7.
Here we go. Brian.devalance at gmail.com. Right? Why are so many of these people using personal email addresses for their government business? Because this obviously is not, oh, hey, I just want to say hi. You want to go for a date or something? This is, I'm attaching the latest regular edition of the CIS-DC report, which contains select executive and legislative branch cyber policy developments. And so this is obviously a work email, but he's using a different email address. And the question is, why are so many of these either agents of government or contractors of government? CIS got 99% of its funding from the National Security Agency.
Right.
Right? They were a government entity. They were acting as a government entity. But here this guy's using 2 different emails to communicate with the courts. That's 2 different emails that we know about. And so this guy is, CI security, right? They played 2 roles. One role was to censor your speech, right? Because They censored your speech, Shelby. I'm
Yes.
convinced of
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
They censored my speech. I'm convinced of that.
Absolutely.
They censored my client, my former client, Carrie Lake's speech. I'm convinced of that 100%. He is part of that. But CI Security also runs the Albert sensors. And we've talked about the Albert and the Einstein sensors before, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Albert sensors are on all of our county systems, I believe, in the state of Arizona. Right?
Absolutely. There's no reason to think otherwise.
No reason to think otherwise.
No.
In fact, we've done a public records request for all communications the Maricopa County Attorney's Office has had with CIS.
Yep.
They won't produce them saying, oh, security, blah, blah, blah. I think they have more to do with possibly attorney sanctions. I think they have more to do with the Lake v. Hobbs matter. And I think they have more to do with censorship than they do with computer technological security. But when they have an Albert sensor hooked up to your county, they can watch all the incoming and outgoing traffic. They can see everything.
Absolutely.
100%.
Right.
Right.
I mean, what other reason is there to centralize everything, right?
Right.
And you've got this agency where they're
Right.
trying to get all of the attorneys, the judiciary, every government agency, all the election departments, all centralized under one umbrella, which true cybersecurity or like homeland security types would know that that's incredibly dangerous, right? I mean,
Yes.
they normally operate in a compartmentalized fashion,
Right.
right?
Which
so,
means-
like, if I capture you
Yeah.
and you only know two people, it's that whole cell operation.
Right.
Do you want to give away everything in one fell swoop? And
They
that's,
want to give
yeah,
away everything in one fell
exactly.
swoop. And that's exactly what's happening, right? If you, and just like you said, compartmentalize, right? The safest, the securest way to have elections, if you're fighting hackers, is to decentralize everything.
Absolutely.
Right? And give the group of hackers that wants to screw with your system 10,000 different systems to try to hack.
Right.
Instead of one.
But if you put Albert sensors on
Right.
the tabulators,
Got one system to hack.
you put Albert sensors
Right.
on the election system, the EMS systems.
Right.
You put Albert sensors on all this digital technology by Runbeck.
Right.
You put Albert sensors on your
Right.
e-poll books.
Right.
Now, every component of your election
Right.
is contained in one governmental agency. I certainly trust the
No.
government, don't you?
One non-governmental
Right.
agency that's got a left-wing, anti-MAGA, anti-Trump bent.
Absolutely.
And that's the problem.
Funded by our tax dollars.
Funded by our tax dollars. And so, the decentralization, and that's why we talk about precinct-based voting, right? If you
Right.
want to hack an election, it's nearly impossible to do when you go down to precinct-level voting. You would have to hack a whole lot of precincts in order to affect the outcome of a presidential election, which is very hard to do when you're talking about that many people working in that many precincts spread out all across the United
Right.
States, right? And so what they have done and what they began doing really in 2016 after Trump won the election was centralizing everything upward so that if you capture the top of the pyramid, you control everything below it, right? Or you can access everything below it.
And there's no trail.
Get rid of the top of the pyramid, right?
Right.
And so that's sort of where we're going with this and the way we structured this. So let's talk about number 9. Let's go to number 9.
Steve, that's the PDF. If you can pull that PDF up for us.
Oh, is it a big PDF?
Yeah, it's just 3 pages. It's an email strand.
That or we
Yeah.
can go to 10.
No, we can pull this up. He'll get it.
And so this is Brian again using CI security email address, as opposed to one of these disposable Google addresses that would make it very difficult for anybody to get any emails that you sent using that if you shut it down and deleted everything.
And
right?
and again, just for clarity,
Uh-huh.
he's communicating with the Arizona court.
Right, and this is okay. So is this a repeat of the same email?
No, this is different. You can go ahead and scroll down,
But they're
Steve.
still so they're still talking about. I'm checking to see whether the State Bar of Arizona can be a member of this election thingy, and I love the State Bar of Arizona, but why would anybody want to incorporate a body, a regulatory body that has the power to sanction attorneys on behalf of the 65 Project, other organizations that have been running around trying to get attorneys disbarred? Why would you want to include that kind of body in an entity that has the power sort of to regulate elections? And I think next week we're going to talk a little bit about, the bar and how it sort of functions as a quasi-legislative agency,
Right.
which is really why it should be regulated, in my mind, theoretically, by the state legislature as opposed to the Arizona Supreme Court.
Agreed.
Because it does function a great deal like a legislative assembly. But we'll talk about that next week.
Steve, can you scroll down? I want to point something out while we're on this. So if you look down at the bottom of that page 2, okay, right there's good, Steve. It says, as at its quarterly meeting yesterday, the committee was scheduled to present a final version of 2 draft reports. In the second report, information sharing around foreign adversary threats to elections, the committee makes 2 recommendations. 1, work with the intelligence community to ensure that the information needs of election officials around foreign disinformation threats are prioritized. And 2, protect the courts. The relevant part of the recommendation, courts, quote, may be the target of an intensified campaign to undermine public trust in the legitimacy of their processes. CISA should consider the following recommendations. So this is a intelligence organization, supposed,
Yeah.
right, who gives recommendations on security to the court, telling the court there's going to be a lot of disinformation by foreign adversaries coming out on our elections, and these same people are targeting you. So make sure that you coordinate with the intelligence community on these issues. How dangerous is that?
That's what I've been talking a lot about, is theoretically the separations of power principle.
Right.
This is during COVID, after Trump won the 2016 presidential election, the intelligence agencies, through Susan Spalding and people like Brian DeValance, made a full frontal assault on our judicial processes from the Supreme Court all the way down. And we've had video on the show of a city of Mesa judge talking to Susan Spalding, like, oh, what the hell? These Russians just sitting around in law, big room, watching Twitter. And at least Susan Spalding had the momentary lapse of integrity. And she said, oh, yeah, well, it's not really the Russians. It's more the Americans, right? It's more we crazy MAGA
It's more the
people.
Bryans and the Shelbys of the world that we're actually fighting.
And so the intelligence community really embedded itself, and that's part of what Brian DeValance's job was at CIS, was to serve as that liaison between the NSA and the Arizona Judicial Branch of Government, and to push all of these programs and processes into the Arizona Judicial Branch of Government, including, likely, my guess is he played a pretty significant role in helping to get the Disinformation Task Force set up in the state of Arizona, which the bar was a functional member of. And so, if the bar takes a position, right, that we don't want we don't want Russian disinformation in our courts, and you're an attorney and a client, an election client wants you to bring a claim saying you have X fraud, and the national security agencies and all of these former washed up old national security hacks are out there saying that that claim is Russian disinformation. As an attorney, do you bring the claim?
Right.
Because then you're potentially subjected to disciplinary action by the State Bar Association.
Well, and they encourage that. Is that correct, Brian? They actually encourage that courts implement stringent rules against attorneys that propagate this disinformation that they're trying to tell the court will fundamentally destroy the judiciary and kill democracy. Right. So, I mean, this isn't something that attorneys have to presume or fear. They are literally being told these things.
Right. And that was, in my mind as a practicing attorney, that was the biggest coup to come out of 2016 and leading up to the 2020 election and what happened in that election and afterwards, right?
Right.
Because we know, we've seen all of the evidence of what took place. Maricopa County receives mysteriously 18,000 ballots the day after the election, 2,000 plus more the couple of days thereafter. They count them all, right?
Right.
And where did these ballots come from, and why were they accepted after the election? And you recall when that chain of custody document they originally tried to hide went public, they first made one statement, and then we said, that's an admission. Right.
And then they changed their story.
The law. Then they retracted that statement and they made a second statement. And so, this was an effort to sort of, I guess, just like what we were talking about earlier, right? Getting people used to, these are Russian disinformation. The Russians are attacking us. It's going to be nonstop.
Right.
But Brian DeValance is a pretty significant player in this. Go ahead and pull up number 10, Steve. Oh, I needed a drink. Blah, 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 blah. Well, all right. And so this is an email from Brian DeValance, or a Google Calendar thing, whatever. He's having a conversation with somebody. But he starts out by saying that was rude. Zoom needs to give us a 60-second warning. And so in this email, Brian DeValance really is showing how connected and how deep he is. And so he's giving this other individual advice. He's saying on the DNI, that's Defense National Intelligence SM Center. Is that SNDM Center? SNDM Center or just SM Center?
SM Center.
Oh, okay. My eyes are getting bad. I'm old. Sometimes we just see what we want to see, right? and then, and so, and so they said ODA, Office of Defense National Intelligence, is dragging its feet on both doing it at all.
Oh, I love this. Some of OD&I are not big fans of CISA. I want to meet those guys because they're probably the good guys in the OD&I.
Probably. And so what he's saying is more on this by phone, i.e., so nobody can get a public records request and get access to our conversation. But I personally think that it should, in uppercase, move to DHS, that's the Department of Homeland Security, because of the connectivity to the domestic social media companies. So this is Brian DeValance, right? Telling somebody very high up that you need to lodge CISA in the Department of Homeland Security, where it has better access to domestic social media companies. Brian DeValance is straight up a censor. he was working to help censor speech of American conservatives and anybody, I guess, that they did not like. And this shows just how connected he was to those people in the upper echelons of the national security agencies, as he's working in Arizona courts.
Right.
Right? Paving the way, saying, oh, you guys, you're going to be attacked by the Russians, right? We're going to have all of this Russian, stuff coming out, and they're going to try to destabilize our judiciary. While
There's
they're
so
working,
much to unpack in this.
there is.
I mean, you talked about the interface, right, with the social media companies, but then they go on to say at the bottom of that, they talk about, although this would likely not be a popular, right, it would be controversial.
Uh-huh.
We need to find a way to deal with the misinformation and disinformation. So basically, he's saying we know this is probably not appropriate.
Right.
It's going to be controversial, but we have to stop the disinformation on elections.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And so, in other words, what we have to do, and we're just going to use regular layman's terms that most you hillbilly Americans like me are going to understand. We're just going to get out our big ass roll of duct tape, and that's not duct tape, it's duct tape with a T as opposed to a K, and we're going to tear bits and pieces off, and we're going to put it over your mouth.
Right.
That's what they're saying.
We're going to silence the majority.
We're going to silence you. We're going to have you kicked off of
Yep.
Facebook. We're going to have you kicked off of Twitter. We're going to have you kicked off of YouTube, off of whatever other social media platform there is. And, then maybe we'll just send our stooges out to arrest you, right?
Absolutely.
Don't start
Right.
screaming on a street corner. We're going to send you to an asylum or something.
Just like
because-
any other good communistic country, right?
Right. And so, this was this was the coup, folks. This was the coup. They needed to secure or get a great deal of influence in our judicial branch of government to convince them over time that the Russians were going to destabilize the U.S. system by attacking its elections. They then had all of their national security experts, right, out there talking about Russian disinformation, and everybody's like, ooh.
And they
oh."
predisposed in
Right.
2018, 2019, the judiciary,
Right.
that they were under attack as an
Yes.
institution by the Russians, and that if they didn't act quickly, it would destabilize the judicial system in America.
Right.
So they started there
Right.
to build up to the election disinformation. So, I love Tulsi Gabbard. She's been amazing. She's brought so much of this forward, but there's still so much more.
There's so much
It
more.
goes so much deeper and so
There-
further back.
There's so much more, Secretary Gabbard, that we need from you, and we need it fast, right? We need it in Arizona fast. And so, but that's what I wanted to say about Brian de Valance, and his activities, in the judicial branch of government, because he has ties running to States United. He has ties running to all of these left-wing national security operatives who have been very active in attacking MAGA, in attacking Trump, and in attempting to ensure that, any MAGA-related or Trump-related speech is completely censored and that our elections can be controlled and managed so that, somebody who supports their program can be elected. And that's what's taking place.
Absolutely.
This was an effort to make the United States of America an autocratic government, which I would say we were beforehand, right? Because wasn't it Brennan? It's come out about Brennan that he lied about the evidence used to support weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
Oh, yeah.
That was the catalyst for America having how long was that war there?
Oh, my goodness. What, 8, 9 years?
Yeah, I was going to say a decade, but
Yeah.
But we invaded Iraq based on a lie.
Mhm.
And the national security agencies have been doing this to us for a very long time. And it would appear our presidents, just implicitly trust them.
Yeah.
right? It
course.
appears that, our courts implicitly trust them. Hey, these people are in the know,
Right.
right? But let me ask you this question. I mean, doesn't having that level of secrecy behind you, with you having the ability to say, I know what's right, I know what's going to happen, doesn't that make you like a little dictator? Doesn't that go to your head? Doesn't that go to say, I know what's best for you?
Well, there's great power involved.
Yeah.
And when you think about, let's just talk about the CIA.
Right.
When the CIA was first formed, I mean, let's face it, people, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, the CIA would go into foreign countries
Yeah.
and they would overthrow regimes.
Yep.
They would use the people to create coups. They would do all these things. So you've got these intelligence officers
Right.
that have been operating in that what is it, modus operandi
Right.
in all these foreign countries, and now
that-
they come back to America.
That zero accountability
Right.
filled.
And they know exactly what they're doing.
Right.
And they know how to do it, and they have the power to do it.
Right.
And with the right people giving the orders, for people to believe that it's not possible to occur here, somehow it'll work in every other country around
Right.
the world, but not in America, it's
Not
it's
in
ignorant.
America. Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that just now we're getting to a point where it should become evident to people watching why we sort of started out with this text to cure and this effort to get people used to like voting on their cell phones, uploading their ID, all of this wonderful stuff, and why, it was so important for, the national security agencies and their minions to go after our judicial branch of government, because we've seen some people go after the judicial branch of government at the federal level, haven't we?
Oh, yeah,
And it was kept a pretty good secret until today, wasn't it?
absolutely. I
Well,
think it was
what
Politico.
happened?
Politico broke the story about 4
Yeah.
days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on
Yeah.
the 4th of July of this year, right around the same time Adrian Fontes had his issues.
Oh,
Right.
the Iranians sneaking
Right.
in and changing pictures and stuff. Like, what a childish hack.
So the United States
Yeah.
federal court system, the PACER system, got
Yeah.
hacked.
No,
Right.
that's and it's just not. I mean, it is far more significant than just saying, "Ow, the Pacer system got hacked,"
Right.
isn't it?
Oh,
This
absolutely.
is fucking huge, isn't it?
Steve, put up number 11. So this what does the court store? Let's talk about what the courts have. The courts have
Well.
confidential informants.
Confidential informants. They have grand jury records.
Right.
Right.
They have, I don't know, pending, or how about judges who sign off pending indictments and arrest warrants?
Right.
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 All of that is housed in the court system.
Lot of secret stuff that could get a lot of people killed. Right. I would venture a guess that they have some secret stuff in there about what's going to start happening to some of these national security state hooligans that were running around screwing with our constitutional republic for the last 6 years, 7 years.
I would guess so.
Right.
So 4 days ago,
Uh-huh.
we heard about this for the first time because somebody in the U.S. courts or somewhere in the government leaked the information to Politico. They kept this a secret
Uh-huh.
for over a month.
Over a month.
Over a month from the American people. Now, what was taken? So this is a leftist organization writing this article, and even they say, wow, they revealed the identities of confidential informants.
Ooh, there's going to be some dead meat on the street.
Beyond the informants, hackers getting inside the system have access to other documents under seal, potentially see warrants before they're even executed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of what they would get. What else would they get? Let's see. Don't most
Obviously didn't get the Epstein files.
right? Well, at least not yet, not that we know of.
Right.
So this is huge, right? So this gentleman here, Michael Scudder, who chairs the Committee on Information and Technology for the federal courts, he says it faces unrelenting security threats of extraordinary gravity.
That's huge. Absolutely. 100%.
So what are the odds, do you think, that CISA or CIS might be in charge of the security of the U.S. court?
I would say that the National Security Agency, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, is in charge of security for the federal courts. Mm-hmm.
And this isn't new, is it?
It's not new. No.
The courts have gotten hacked before, haven't they,
have.
Brian?
2021?
Yeah.
2023?
2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, in 2021.
Well, what happened in 2021?
Steve, go ahead and put up number 12. So in 2021, the U.S. federal courts were hacked again, right? And they talk about, oh my goodness, this dramatic event in Washington, D.C. The courts were hacked with highly sensitive documents, right? Highly sensitive documents were taken from the court.
Oh, look, right there, the first paragraph on the right-hand side of the page. Recent events indicate federal courts are not immune to such attack. In mid-December, the DHS's Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency issued an emergency directive regarding a known compromise involving, we've talked about this.
SolarWinds. Yeah.
The SolarWinds Orion hack. Probably, and I've said this before on many shows, the SolarWinds hack was probably the most ingenious hack ever to strike the United States of America.
It was like infiltrating sleeper cells all over the government, right?
And it was that's why I think it was the actual government itself doing it, right? Because you know what is government like, right? The health and human services and the National Institute of Health liked COVID because it gave them more money, it gave them more power, right? The CIA and the FBI kind of like terrorist attacks like 9/11 because what did it give them? It gave them tremendous power over the U.S. citizen and over their communications and over their speech and over their behaviors, right? And so what would a cybersecurity infrastructure security agency like? Not to mention the fact that the federal government's using the Einstein sensors and the local governments that the DHS has access to through CIS are using the Albert sensors. This gives you access to all of your election platforms across the United States.
And let's not forget that it has actually been revealed that there have been election departments in other states that have come forward and said, we got hacked and didn't know about it for months.
Right.
When we were using CIS and the Albert sensors to protect us. So they thought they were protected.
Right.
And the whole time they were being hacked, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this article was January 8th of 2021.
Right.
Based on a December of 2020 hack.
Right. And so this hack, I believe, was very much like the SolarWinds hack. They went in, they penetrated as far as they thought they could. They probably left a whole bunch of trap doors that would allow them access later, and that's what made the SolarWinds hack so ingenious. Is they used SolarWinds compiler, to put in this door. They went in, they left all kinds of doors, and there are probably still doors in different agencies that would give these hackers access to whatever they want. Including the federal judiciary, because we have centralized everything under under an organization created out of corruption, right? CISA was created out of a desire to control American politics and to destroy Donald Trump. That's why it was created. It was
Right.
created for evil means, as an evil tool to do harm to our constitutional republic. And so to think that we can keep this monstrosity around, or to think that it has nothing to do with what's taking place with all of these hacks, is just ludicrous. So,
No,
yeah,
absolutely. And the point of going backwards, right,
right,
is we have to show that they had foresight.
right.
Like, this isn't the first time this happened. They knew that the judiciary was vulnerable.
Yes,
And they
they
had
did.
been talking about it for a long time. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
in 2023, under the Biden administration, they created a joint task force
Right.
to create an IT security plan for the U.S. courts just for this reason, because they knew that it was just a matter of time before there was
Right.
more hacks, right? Steve, go ahead and put up 13. So this is an excerpt we found from the 2023. It says long range plan for information technology in the federal judiciary. So this was a full on report. It's like a 26-page report.
Uh-huh.
And they talk about up here judiciary vulnerability starting in 2021, right? So right after that 2020 hack,
Yeah.
the AO developed a coordinated vulnerability management program leveraging DHS and CISA
Yep.
cyber hygiene services.
Oh, their cyber hygiene. You know,
Right.
DHS is dirty. DHS, the DHS CISA is dirty. I mean, it needs hygiene. You know,
Right.
but when you're dirty, you can't give other people hygiene. You can only get them dirty. Right?
Right.
That's whenever I get done working around the house and I go in to give my wife a hug. She says, "Wash your hands."
Or you sit down on the couch and then there's like
Right.
a
Change
ring
your,
on the couch.
change your pants. Wash your hands. You're going to get me dirty.
So you
I
got
said-
a dirty agency.
Right. A
That was
dirty
built for
agency,
evil.
Right. That's rubbing up all over our court system. And, that.
So we're
that's
going to
not-
form a plan to clean up the
Right.
security, right? Using a dirty agency.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so Steve, put up 14. Here's another excerpt from that plan, Brian, that we looked at, right? Well, look at this. So this is 2023, and they requested the budget from Congress, right? This whole thing, they've been working on this now for, 4 years?
Yeah.
Over 4 years, since January of 2021. And they say, after assessing existing remote access services, products, and infrastructure for opportunities to enhance, right? We'll skip down. It says, the judiciary is pursuing implementation of a cloud virtual private network VPN service. Do you think they got that VPN service?
I don't know. I do like one sentence. It says the judiciary is moving toward a zero trust architecture. And
Yeah.
that should be 100% our election architecture. It should be 100% the judiciary's architecture, a complete zero trust
Right.
architecture.
You don't have to trust it because it's validatable, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you want to access the system, regardless of what device you're on, regardless if you were logged in 5 minutes ago, you have to add your credentials and log back in. Now,
Right.
that doesn't make a system completely secure because, as we've talked about on this show before, people can get your username and your password through nefarious means.
Right.
And so,
But the shared password and the lack of dual
Yeah.
authenticity that's being used currently
Right.
in Maricopa County,
right.
where they have shared passwords, shared user identifications, that is far from zero trust.
Oh, that not zero trust whatsoever.
That's trusting anybody, including
Yeah.
the janitor, right?
And so, the virtual private network, we talked about that with respect to, what's that Microsoft platform?
Azure.
Azure.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Azure, Azure was tailored prior to the 2020 elections for our election systems. I mean, Microsoft actually advertised that.
Yeah.
And so, you have these virtual private networks that we see with the Azure hack recently. Was that 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, the Azure hack? made public?
Yeah, it was early July. Actually,
Yeah.
I think if we lined up the
Probably at the
timeline, it
same
was
time.
probably at the same time.
Maybe.
Are they using the Microsoft Azure at the U.S. courts?
Could be. Could be. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they'll never tell us.
Steve,
Oh.
put on 15 if you would. This is
Yeah.
this is another article that came out on the federal court hack that just happened. Okay. And they talk about some of the things that may have been affected.
Am I going to be able to log on to my account?
Right. So it says the attack, which remains under investigation, has left officials scrambling to assess the scope of damage and the risk posed to national security, law enforcement operations, and the integrity of the judicial system. The breach reportedly compromised sensitive data, including identities of confidential informants who have cooperated with the DOJ in high-profile criminal cases.
Yeah.
You know, we've been talking about some of the work that Tulsi Gabbard has done, some of the investigations that are occurring.
Right.
There's a real probability. I mean, they're going to try and play this that this is probably a foreign hack. But aren't there people maybe here in America that would have a vested interest to, I don't know, hear about sealed indictments, arrest records,
no
search
doubt.
warrants from the DOJ?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if there are any really high-profile mafia type cases going on right now, other than what Tulsi Gabbard's doing, because the national security agencies behave like they were mafia. But they would be interested in stuff like that. A lot of people would be interested in stuff like this, and so you could even be a rogue hacker that got in, and if you could download all the names of confidential informants, you could probably sell that information and make some pretty good money. But this is a huge. I mean, the extent of this security breach, cannot be underestimated, because
Right.
especially when you have so many current and former members of the National Security Association or agencies, including the Central Intelligence Agency, that are under active investigation for their role in what's happened over the last 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years.
Well, and remember, like I cannot stress enough, this hack occurred on July 4th.
Right.
And if it wasn't for a brave whistleblower in the government
You never know about it.
contacting Politico, we would probably never know about it.
Right.
And this source told Politico, quote, "The first time I've ever seen a hack at this level."
Yeah.
I mean, this is significant, and mainstream media is not talking about it.
Right.
And they tried to bury it from us for over a month.
Mm-hmm.
What is the implication of this? The fact that our judiciary was hacked, tied to the Department of Justice, right?
Well, what would be interesting is whether or not it gave them any access to the FISA courts, right? The national security courts, the secret courts, where, you don't have to release anything publicly. You just go before the judge secretly and nobody else knows, right? The same kind of FISA warrant they used to spy on Donald Trump during the presidential election. If you had access to the FISA courts, wow.
Right.
You could, that would give you a lot of powerful information that you could use to your advantage. So
Well, it
a
says
huge.
the extent of the data exposure still remains unclear, but the breach has already triggered a coordinated response from the DOJ,
Mm-hmm.
the federal courts, and the administrative office of the U.S.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say that it would be a high probability that those FISA courts were compromised in this
Probably.
hack.
Yeah.
And that is really terrifying for the Trump administration, the informants, the whistleblowers.
Right.
I mean, I don't think people are understanding that these investigations and these things that come forward,
Mm-hmm.
they're interviewing witnesses, right, Brent?
Yeah.
And many of those witnesses are under seal right now.
Probably.
and for good reason. And so now they've been exposed, and our government has essentially, CISA has opened these people up for great vulnerabilities. You can take that down now, Steve.
And so I guess, the real question is, why are so many Americans so willing to trust something so important as elections, to all of these computerized and digitized mechanisms that we use in elections, when we could just decentralize everything back to the precinct level, like France does, like all the other major, Western countries do,
And hand count.
and hand count at the
And count our
precinct
ballot.
level,
Yeah.
right? Where you're not as subjected to fraud because you've dispersed everything out rather than centralized everything. And that was, that was, I think, the intent of CISA. I think the intent of CISA was to centralize everything so these hacks in the national security agencies that were anti-Trump could try to manipulate and control things through that centralized process. And so, Trump needs to decentralize all of this. He needs to get rid of CISA. Congress needs to be a player in this, and they need to decentralize all of this. And,
Absolutely.
And we need to go back to elections that can't be hacked.
Well, I'm going to take a line from one of our favorite county attorneys, Attorney Liddy. I remember in one of the trials, he says, "Are we really supposed to believe that? Are we really supposed to believe that?" Well, Brian, I have a question. Every government agency in America, including our U.S. judiciary, and almost every major corporate player on the market has been hacked. Are we really supposed to believe that there has been no election hacks in the United States?
Right.
Are we really supposed to believe that?
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Liddy, we are. But anyway,
Literally everything in American cyber infrastructure has been hacked multiple times in
But not our
increasing
elections.
numbers. But the one thing that you're not allowed to claim has ever been hacked or is even hackable
is our election.
is anything to do with our elections.
And don't take that claim to court, Brian, because
How
they're
dare
gonna
you, sir?
they're gonna
How dare
censor
you,
you.
election denier.
they'll sanction you.
Right.
They'll disbar you.
Yeah.
Because how dare you make a claim that our elections can be hacked?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why our judiciary needs to sort of ditch the national security state, and what I'd like to see, and what the reason I do this, and I'm so vocal about it, at of course great risk to my license, I think, because a lot of people don't like what I have to say, is that we need, America is America. It has become what it has become because we've always had a very strong and independent judiciary.
Right.
I don't care, what an individual judge has to say. All judges have their ideological bent. Right? I am a strict constructionist. Many judges are not. Many judges believe that the law is living, but when we have an independent judiciary that's free of this influence and taint of the national security state, the executive branch unduly influencing our judiciary, then is there such a thing as justice when we don't have that independence in our judiciary?
Are we actually a republic? I mean, could one say that we are literally no longer a republic without a fair and unbiased judiciary, Brian?
Yeah, that's probably not. Yeah,
Right.
but that's why we need a movement to eradicate CISA. We really need a movement to go after the people who sought to unduly influence our judiciary with what is now known as, and what we've known all along has been, a lie. Right. They tried to convince our courts that election fraud in 2020 was the big lie.
Absolutely.
But that was the big lie,
Right.
right? And so that's why, in a lot of the things I've talked about, how we flip language on its head,
Hmm.
right? X means Y. And if you can convince enough people that X means Y, then X means Y.
Right.
But you flipped language on its head, and that's exactly what they did with the big lie. They said the
Absolutely.
big lie is that, Trump won the election of 2020. But that was the big lie.
Right.
Right. And that was part of how they sort of flipped the script. They were, very good at it for a while, but fortunately the American people, I think, are smarter than that because they saw what was happening.
I think they're completely seeing through it.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I'd like to pull up 17 for me, if you would, Steve. I don't know anything about this author.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But when we were researching for the show today,
Mhm.
I came across this guy's article about the U.S. court hacking. It's the realist juggernaut. And again, I don't know anything about him. I'm not endorsing him, but I have to give credit because this is an opinion piece. Okay. So in his article, he states the Pacer platform holds the secrets of the state,
Yes.
sealed documents, pending indictments, surveillance operations, and the raw evidence that drives the legal machine of a global superpower. If that data is stolen, sold, or altered, it is not just a security breach. It's a constitutional crisis waiting to unfold.
100%.
And I saw that and I thought,
Yeah.
I don't know who this guy is. I'm going to probably start looking at his writings more. But man, that was a profound statement.
Oh,
And
100%.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, it's totally true. I mean, imagine being a litigant in a big case against, a major corporation that is a significant, player in the military industrial complex.
Yep.
And all of your evidence is gone because all of your evidence has been submitted electronically because all of this stuff is done electronically these days. Right? And there's your documents are altered or whatever the case may be.
Right.
If they have the power to get into our court systems this deeply, this profoundly, how do we know things haven't been changed? How do we know things haven't been altered?
How do we know the Epstein document wasn't deleted or rewritten, right? I mean, we don't know.
And that's the whole problem with the Epstein documents is they were in the possession of the
Right.
anti-Donald Trump people for a very long period of time. Right? If there was anything legitimate in there, they would have used it against Trump. But what did they do with that stuff after he won the election? Did they manipulate the data in any way? Did they,
Yeah,
And
and we don't know, do we?
yeah.
And we may never know.
Yeah. I still want to know who deleted the 3 minutes of video from the Trump jailhouse footage.
Well, that was just a system glitch.
Oh, system glitch.
Yeah, that was a system glitch.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So the problem for Trump is you still have a lot of these lower level bureaucratic employees who are very anti-Trump. They're very highly politicized, and they're willing to do things to make the Trump administration look bad. So.
yeah, and I think kind of my final thought on this, Brian, is as the realist juggernaut pointed out, CISA has admitted that there has been over 200 million attempts to hack and access the documents with the U.S. federal courts that were evaded. But yet, for 3 years, they've just been requesting more funding from Congress instead of actually doing anything to prevent this hack from happening. And I'm sorry, put my tinfoil hat on. I will wear it proudly. They wanted this hack. Somebody benefited from this hack.
Lincoln, come here. Say hi. That damn dog is just sleeping. He's out like a light. I must have bored him to death. Was I boring tonight?
Well, do you have any final
Come on,
thoughts, Brian?
Steve. What video?
Oh, we got that video. Do you want to close with that?
Okay, so this is this is something near and dear to my heart. Thanks for reminding me, Steve. And I've already done a video on this, but CISA, it gets to CISA, right? Now, what we're going to see is CISA not only invaded the court system, but it was pushed down to state bar associations by the American Bar Association. Right.
So before we play the video, let me ask you this. So we already know by them getting access to the court system,
Right.
they have access to all of this information. Evidence gathering, warrants, potential indictments, confidential informants. What is the additional ramification of a hack getting into the private representative attorney?
Well, I got to tell you, as attorneys, we have pretty significant ethical obligations to maintain client confidentiality, which means we don't give third parties access to our case files, right?
Right.
And so what you're going to see as a video is an ethics CLE that I was watching.
So you have an you have an ethics obligation
Yes.
to protect your client's information,
Right.
the attorney-client. And then you're taking an ethics class sponsored by the bar, and this is what they tell you about that obligation.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, let's run it.
We always say beware free services. If you're using Google Mail and you're using the free version of Google Mail, initially they told everybody, hey, we're not mining that for data. About 7-8 years ago, they had a different story for Congress. Yes, we are mining that data.
We're sorry.
Yeah.
Our bad. We have all your information.
Google, the paid service, explicitly tells you we are not mining for data. Don't believe them. They are. But again, is it secure? Is it something that is an acceptable area of risk
pause
when it
real
comes
quick.
to these?
All right, so these are two State Bar of Arizona ethics attorneys. Nice guys, as far as I know. They're of course, this has been pushed down upon them from up high by people in the national security agencies. But they're dissing on Google because it's a free service where they mine your stuff, right? So pay attention, because they're dissing on the free service. So go ahead and go.
Sort of security issues. Network security, what's your firewall look like? What kind of spam filtering? What kind of malware and monitoring do you have on your network security? There are even government agencies, we've learned about them at a tech show recently. It's called CISA, it's the Cyber Security and Information Agency. They will, for free, they will try to intrude into your network. And they will try to identify the strengths and weaknesses of your security. You can contact them online at CISA.gov.
Isn't that funny? It still says beware free services right next to them, too, while they're saying this.
I love it.
I'm going to rewind it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't help but laughing over it. They're like, beware free services, but go to the government's free services because they're awesome.
The strengths and weaknesses of your security. You can contact them online at CISA.gov and arrange for this to occur. And they will give you recommendations on ways for you to increase, fill in the holes, increase your net of your security. You can contact them online at CISA.gov, your network, and they will try to identify the strengths and weaknesses of your security. You can contact them online at CISA.gov and arrange for this to occur. And they will give you recommendations on ways for you to increase.
All right, so Lincoln's gotten pretty big, guys. He's an excellent puppers. Got a long tongue. Look at that. But anyway, I thought that was funny when I came across that because we've done a lot of deep diving research into CISA, and the ethics attorney there didn't even know what his full name is. Right, it's the National Security Agency, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency.
Because they were given a memo to read, basically.
Essentially.
Yeah, I mean, here, you need to let these attorneys know of this wonderful, great new service.
Right. And so, CISA, what these two ethics attorneys probably didn't know either, was one of the primary targets of the SolarWinds hack. CISA has been hacked so many times, folks. And the problem is these hacks have been so good that they just sit inside of CISA. And when CISA probes your system, the hackers are watching to see what they find. And then if you've got a big enough law firm, man, they're going to target you and you're going to be fucked because your client information is going to disappear. Shit's going to happen to your case files. And you have just violated the rules of ethics at the suggestion of
Right.
the state bar's ethics attorneys. Right. And this is the problem with CISA. It was born of corruption. It is an evil entity and it needs to go away because it was created for a purpose. And that purpose was to control our elections and to ensure the destruction of Donald J. Trump and the MAGA movement. And so do not, if you are an attorney or a law firm, do not stab your clients in the back and let CISA probe your systems because CISA's not safe, folks. And if you haven't seen that by now, give Pacer a call tomorrow and and have a chat with them about whether there were intrusions into your case file.
Yeah, just give
during this
SolarWinds
attack.
a little call. Just say, hey, how's it going? When's the next scheduled hack going to happen?
Right.
Well,
Right.
speaking of SolarWinds,
It's a free service.
I Googled SolarWinds today. And I wanted to find out, because I was trying to find out whether or not SolarWinds was tied to this hack.
Uh-huh.
So they have now been authorized as of this year, 2025, to take government contracts again. So SolarWinds is
Yeah.
back in business. So
Back in
anyways,
business, right?
do not allow the continued digitization
Right.
of your election system.
Yeah.
Do not allow it. Do not comply. Fight back. Convenience only does so much.
Right.
Do not compromise your security
Right.
of one of the most important things that we have as citizens for the sake of convenience.
And just imagine this, right? Imagine all law firms under CISA. Imagine our court systems under CISA, right? Imagine the power you would have if you could get into all of those systems at once.
Right?
That's scary, folks.
It's very scary.
That
The
is
amount of
scary.
power
Right.
contained in CISA.
You know, and we know not all law firms are always good, right? Like Perkins Coie was sharing office space unbeknownst to its clients with the Federal Bureau of Investigations,
Right.
whom many of their clients, corporate entities that routinely violate the law, would not want hiding in the closet when they're talking to their lawyers, right?
Right.
And so, if you're a lawyer out there, use your brain. Don't CISA is corrupt, and the State Bar of Arizona should take that CLE down so that I can't play it anymore. And probably going to keep doing it, but you don't need to be teaching people that. Teaching people to Google stuff is fine because Google is.
But it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be one or the other.
No.
Right. We know Google is compromised
Right.
and we choose to use it for convenience for certain things, right?
Uh-huh.
But we know it's compromised.
Right.
Don't take people to the other extreme and ask them to go into a government sanctioned compromise system.
Right.
There's lots of secure
Right.
companies out there where you can store your data in a paid service that
Tressor it.
is not going to sell your information.
Right? Is that how you say it? Tressor it or Tressory? Tressory.
Yeah.
Right?
Tressory's
That's-
a great service.
Yeah, and it's encrypted, and so there are a lot you can do, folks, but don't let the government.
I've been thinking
Your
about
system.
this, and it's kind of akin to the old mob system, right?
Mhm.
It's like, look, you need to pay us to protect you from all these other criminals out here that want to rob you. we're only going to rob you for this much right here, okay? Up front, we're robbing you for this much, but we'll protect you from everyone else that wants to rob you.
Right.
That's what I feel like the government's doing.
That's
They're going to
definitely
all of these attorneys and saying, "Look, we're going to spy on you this much, but we're going to protect you from everyone else spying on you, okay?"
again. There's an old saying, a quote by a great president, that the most dangerous words that you could ever hear is, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." So
Oregon.
walk away, run fast. So when people say CISA is here to help you,
Right.
and we're from the government, run.
Run. Yeah, especially if you're a private lawyer. Yeah, but that's a same problem, I think. And I think this one of the reasons Maricopa County Attorney's Office might not want to give up their emails with CIS is because I think they have allowed a non-governmental organization into what is a law firm. Maricopa County Attorney's Office
Yep.
is a law firm that represents the people of Maricopa County. They have criminal division. They have civil division. They have a lot of private confidential information
Brian,
in their systems, and they appear to have given access to an NGO.
would they have confidential informants,
Yes,
sealed indictments,
probably.
search warrants,
Sure of it.
evidence during an active investigation?
Yep.
Now, there you have it.
There you have it. So, I don't know.
With that,
We'll see you. Peace.